Rahul, Shreya, and their three friends, Ankit, Niharika, and Vivek, were traveling from Delhi to Jaipur. Along the way, they heard about Bhangarh Fort, known as one of the most haunted places in India. "Let's check it out. It'll be fun," Ankit suggested excitedly. "But I've heard you should never stay there after sunset," Niharika said, worried. "Come on, it's just a myth." Rahul laughed. Curious, they took a detour and drove toward Bhangarh, an eerie silence. As they reached the massive entrance of the fort, the air felt heavy. A strange, unsettling silence surrounded them. Inside, they saw crumbling ruins, abandoned palaces, and overgrown trees. "This place, it feels different," Shreya whispered, and Kit suddenly noticed an old, dusty doll lying in the rubble. "Look, maybe it belonged to a child who lived here," he said, picking it up. Just then, "Stop, don't touch that." An old sage stood behind them, his eyes filled with fear. "You must leave before sunset, or he will awaken," the old man warned. The mistake that shouldn't have happened, but the friends brushed it off as a local superstition. "Oh, come on, it's just an abandoned fort," Vivek chuckled. They continued deeper into the ruins. As the sun began to set, the fort grew darker and colder. Suddenly, thump, thump, thump. They heard the sound of barefoot footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. "Did anyone hear that?" Shreya asked, her voice trembling. No one replied. Then Ankit froze. The doll was no longer in his backpack. "What the hell? I put it inside," he stammered. At that moment, a cold gust of wind blew past them, and a distant bell began to ring, even though there was no temple nearby. They were not alone. Rahul switched on his phone's flashlight, and that's when they saw it. A dark shadow standing in the far corner of the fort. The shadow slowly started moving toward them, but there was no face, just darkness. Shreya screamed, "Run!" They raced toward the entrance, but just as they reached the main gate, the door slammed shut on its own. Trapped in the dark now, they were trapped. Rahul turned toward the walls. The shadows were moving, but there was no one there. "We need to apologize," Niharika sobbed. Ankit, the one who had picked up the doll, trembled. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb anything." Just then, a chilling whisper echoed. "It's too late." A piercing scream filled the air, and everything went black. The haunting truth. The next morning, villagers found the five friends unconscious outside the fort gates. Their faces were frozen in horror, as if they had seen something beyond human comprehension. But there was something even more terrifying. Ankit was still clutching the same old doll, and this time its eyes were blood red.